I work the overnight pharmacy shift at the Walgreens off Route 59 in Aurora, Illinois. The store ID is 4471. I started in March of 2023, and the tiles in aisle 7 have been sagging a little more every week since the 4th of July. That's the part I keep coming back to, not the sounds. Not the smell, the sag. Aisle 7 is the cold and flu aisle. Mucinex, Robitussin, the generic store brand stuff in the orange boxes. Right above the cough drops, there's a 2-foot section of drop ceiling where the white acoustic tile bows down like the bottom of a water balloon. The first time I noticed it, I thought a pipe was leaking. I told my manager, Denise. She put in a maintenance ticket. Corporate sent a guy out from Naperville. He stood on a stepladder, pushed the tile up with a flashlight, and said there was nothing up there, no water, no stain. Just dust. He left. The tile kept sagging. I'm writing this on my phone in the back office. It is 3:14 in the morning on a Tuesday. The pharmacy is closed. The front of the store is open until 6, because we are a 24-hour location. I am the only person in the building. I have not been alone in the building for a long time. Let me start over. The first month, it was nothing. Overnight pharmacy is boring. You count pills. You answer the phone if a hospital calls in a transfer. You eat a sad microwave burrito at 2 in the morning. The store is huge and empty and lit like an operating room. The fluorescents hum. The cooler in the back hums. The freezer in the front hums. After a week, you stop hearing any of it. The first time I heard something above the ceiling, I thought it was a mouse. We get them. The store backs up to a retention pond and they come in through the loading dock. I made a note on the whiteboard. Trap aisle 7. Pest control showed up that Thursday. Set glue traps came back the next week. Traps were empty, not chewed, not sprung, empty. The technician was a guy named Ramon. He had been doing pest for 16 years. He stood in aisle 7 looking up at the sagging tile, and he said something I did not understand at the time. He said, "Your weight isn't right." I asked him what he meant. He said, "Mice make a mouse weight. Rats make a rat weight. Squirrels are heavier, but they only come in during the day. Whatever is up there is heavier than a squirrel, and it doesn't move like one," he said. "I'm not going up there." He left. I watched him walk to his truck. He sat in the parking lot for almost 10 minutes before he drove away. That was the first thing I should have paid attention to. I didn't. The second thing happened in late July. I was restocking aisle 4 allergy stuff, and I heard footsteps, not above me, behind me, down at the end of the aisle toward the back of the store. Slow, soft footsteps on the polished concrete. A pause, then more footsteps. I called out, "Hello, pharmacy is closed, but the front is open if you need anything." No answer. I walked to the end of aisle 4. There was no one there. I checked aisle 3, aisle 5, aisle 6. The store was empty. I went back to the pharmacy and I pulled up the security camera feed on the back office computer. There are 19 cameras in the store. I scrubbed back 10 minutes. I watched myself walking through aisle 4. I watched the empty aisle behind me. I watched the empty aisles around me. I watched the front door. No one had come in. No one had gone out. The footsteps had a source. The cameras did not record it. I sat in the back office for a long time after that. I did not finish stocking aisle 4 that night. The third thing happened in August. I came in for my shift at 10. Denise was closing out the day register. She told me that a woman had come in around 6 p.m. asking about a man. The woman said her brother had worked at this Walgreens. She wanted to know if anyone here remembered him. Denise had been at this store for 9 years. She did not remember anyone matching the description. The woman showed Denise a photo on her phone. Denise said the man in the photo was wearing a Walgreens vest, and behind him you could see aisle 7, the cough drops, the sagging tile. The photo was dated 2009. The woman said her brother went to work one night in October of 2009 and never came home. The store had told the police he never showed up for his shift. The cameras had been down that week for a system upgrade. She said she had been visiting Walgreens locations for 14 years, showing his picture to overnight staff. Denise told me this like it was a funny story. I laughed. I had not yet looked up at the ceiling that night. I want to tell you what I heard above aisle 7 on the 14th of August. I want to tell you about the smell that came down through the vent on the 18th. I want to tell you what Denise found in the back stockroom on the 21st. I will get to all of it. First, I need to tell you about Marco. Marco worked the overnight before me. He was the one who put in the very first maintenance ticket about the sagging tile 2 years before I started. He quit in February of 2023. I have his old locker. When I cleaned it out my first week, there was a notebook at the bottom behind a roll of paper towels. A Walgreens brand spiral notebook, the kind we sell in the school supply aisle. I almost threw it away, then I opened it. Marco had been keeping a log, not of inventory of sounds. The first entry was from May of 2022. It said, aisle 7 scratching, 11:30 p.m. The second entry was from a week later. Aisle 7 scratching, 2 a.m. The third entry was aisle 7 footsteps, 3:12 a.m. above me. Walked from cough drops to the end of the aisle and stopped. The entries went on for 9 months. They got more specific. By December of 2022, Marco was logging breath sounds. Slow breathing above tile, 2 a.m. Slow breathing above tile, 4 a.m. Longer interval between breaths than mine. By January, he was logging weight estimates, 40 pounds, 60 pounds. He had drawn a diagram of the ceiling grid and marked the tiles where the sagging was worst. There were 3 of them in 2022. By the time he quit, there were 11. I counted the tiles last week. There are 29. The last entry in Marco's notebook was from his final shift. It said, "It knows my name now." It said it through the vent above the pharmacy bench. I am not coming back. I kept the notebook. I started my own log. I am writing in it right now on the back page because I have run out of room. On the 14th of August, I was counting Adderall at the pharmacy bench. The pharmacy is at the back of the store behind a glass wall. There is a vent in the ceiling directly above the bench. I heard, through the vent, a long, slow exhale. Not air handling, not a mechanical sound, a breath. It lasted about 6 seconds. Then there was a pause. Then there was another breath, slightly faster. I did not move for a long time. I waited for it to stop. It did not stop. I worked the rest of my shift with my headphones on at full volume. On the 18th of August, the smell came down through the same vent. I cannot describe it well. It was like a deer that has been dead for 2 days in summer, mixed with something sweet, like overripe fruit. The smell lasted about 20 minutes and then it was gone. I told Denise the next morning. She put in a maintenance ticket. The maintenance guy came back. He stood on the step ladder. He pushed up the tile. He said there was nothing up there. He came down off the ladder fast that time. He did not look me in the eye when he left. On the 21st of August, Denise found a tooth in the back stockroom. Not a human tooth, not exactly an animal tooth either. It was on the floor near the bay door, in the place where the drop ceiling meets the wall. She showed it to me, and we both stared at it for a while. It was about the size of my thumbnail. It was yellow. The root was longer than the crown. Denise put it in a Ziploc bag. She put the bag in the safe. We did not talk about it again. I want to tell you that I quit. I want to tell you that I walked out of the store on the 22nd and never came back. I did not. I needed the job. My girlfriend was pregnant. We were closing on a townhouse in Naperville in October. I told myself the smell was a dead raccoon. The tooth was from a possum. The breathing was the HVAC. The footsteps were settling. I told myself a story I did not believe, and I kept showing up at 10 p.m. every Sunday through Thursday for another 6 weeks. The footsteps started learning my route. That is the part I have not told anyone. By the second week of September, the footsteps above the ceiling were not random. They were following me. When I walked from the pharmacy to the front register, the footsteps walked with me, 2 aisles over, slightly behind. When I stopped, they stopped. When I doubled back to test it, they doubled back too, with a delay of about 3 seconds. On the 29th of September, I stood in aisle 7 and I looked up at the sagging tile. I said out loud, "I know you're up there. I am not going to bother you. Please do not bother me." The tile sagged another half-inch while I was watching it. I left aisle 7, I went to the back office, I sat in the chair. The lights in the office flickered. The lights in the office have never flickered before. I sat very still. I heard through the ceiling above me the sound of something settling its weight onto the tile. The tile in the office has never sagged. It started sagging that night while I watched. It is sagging right now above my head as I type this. Tonight is the night I am leaving. I'm going to walk out the front door at 6 a.m. when the morning shift comes in. I am not going to come back. I have already drafted the text I am sending Denise. I have already told my girlfriend. I have already accepted that I am giving up 2 weeks of pay. But I needed to write this down first, because I checked Marco's notebook one more time an hour ago. I went to the page where he wrote, "It knows my name now," and I noticed something I had not noticed before. In the margin, in pencil, very small, Marco had written a name, not his name, the name of the overnight pharmacist before him. A man who had quit in 2022, a man whose locker Marco had inherited. The name was Christopher Vega. I looked Christopher Vega up. He had not quit. He had stopped showing up for his shifts in March of 2022. His family had filed a missing persons report. The case is still open. Below Christopher Vega's name, Marco had written another name in the same small pencil. A name from a notebook Christopher Vega must have left behind. A man named Daniel Roth who had quit in 2019. Below Daniel Roth in different handwriting was another name and another and another. 11 names in total, going back to when this Walgreens opened in 2007. The last name on the list in Marco's handwriting was mine. It had been written before I ever worked here, before I had even applied for the job. Marco had written my name in the notebook and quit 2 months later. I'm going to tell you what the woman's brother looked like. The brother she came in asking about. The brother who had worked here in 2009 and never come home. He had brown hair. He was about my height. The photo Denise saw was of a young man standing in front of aisle 7, smiling, holding a clipboard. The clipboard he was holding is the clipboard I use every shift. It is sitting on the bench beside me right now. I did not bring it from home. It was here when I started. There's a name written on the back in faded Sharpie. I never bothered to read it. I just read it now. It is the name above Christopher Vega's. It is the brother's name. The footsteps above the office have stopped. The tile is no longer sagging. It is bulging. Something is pressing down on it from above. I can see the outline of what looks like a hand, except the fingers are too long, and there are too many of them. It is 6 in the morning. The morning shift is here. I can hear Denise unlocking the front door. I am closing the notebook. I am walking out. I'm leaving the clipboard on the bench. I am leaving Marco's notebook in the locker. I am not writing my name down anywhere in this store, because I think that is what does it. I think the names are how it knows. I drove home. I slept. I did not go back. That was 3 weeks ago. I have a new job at a CVS in Bolingbrook. The pay is worse. I do not care. Last night my girlfriend asked me why I keep checking the ceiling. I told her I was looking for a leak. That was a lie. I was looking for the sag. There is no sag in our ceiling. The drywall is flat and clean and white. But this morning I went out to my car to drive to my new job. The parking lot was empty. The sun was just coming up. I unlocked the driver's side door, and I saw on the back of my hand in faded Sharpie the same handwriting that was on the clipboard. It was my name. I have not been to the Walgreens since I quit. I have not driven past it. I have not looked at its lights from Route 59. 2 nights ago, my girlfriend was scrolling Zillow and she stopped on a listing. A townhouse 2 miles from where we are closing. She said, "Look at this one. The price is nice." The photo of the kitchen showed a clean, white drop ceiling. I told her I liked our place better. I told her we should not look at other listings. I check our ceiling every morning now. The drywall is still flat. It is still clean. It is still white. But the cough drops in our medicine cabinet are arranged in a row. and the row gets a little longer every week, and I do not remember buying any of them.